Ever picture yourself cruising down the highway in a brand new car? Or maybe landing that dream job? Okay, but what if you're stuck visualizing and not seeing the results? Well, guess what? There's a whole lot more to the law of attraction than just daydreaming. We're going to take a deep dive into that today with, let's see, with 3 different articles on the science and psychology behind it, a really cool study on the impact of visualization on athletes, and a book about successful entrepreneurs and their mindset.
Sounds fascinating.
Yeah. We'll unpack how this whole thing really works and how to actually put it into practice. It's not just about wishing on a star, right? You gotta be ready to roll up your sleeves and do some work too.
Absolutely. And sometimes, the law of attraction gets boiled down to just positive thinking and hoping for the best. But that's really just scratching the surface. There's so much more to it than that.
Right. It's not just about like putting a vision board together and then just, kicking back and waiting for the universe to deliver. One of the sources that really got me thinking was that article, about the athletes and how visualization actually changes their brain activity.
Yeah. That's pretty mind-blowing, isn't it?
It is. Can you break that down for us a little bit? Like how does that even work?
Sure. So researchers found that when athletes vividly imagine themselves performing, like really get into the details, their brain activity actually mirrors what happens when they're physically practicing. So they're essentially strengthening those neural pathways, even without actually moving a muscle.
Wow. That's incredible. So basically
Mhm.
we're training our brains to be more receptive to opportunities, right?
Yep.
Like we're priming them to see what we're looking for out there in the world.
Exactly. It all ties back to the amazing power of neuroplasticity. Our brains are constantly changing and adapting based on our experiences, and especially what we choose to focus on.
Okay, I'm starting to get this. But there's this thing called the retinal activation system. It controls our visual attention, right? So how does that fit into all of this? Is it really like we're giving it a superpower to spot opportunities?
It kind of is. Think about it this way. Your brain is flooded with information all the time, right? It has to filter out what's important and what's not. When you consciously focus on your goals, you're essentially telling your brain, hey, pay attention to this. And your retinal activation system steps up its game, becoming more sensitive to anything related to those goals.
So it's like the more we focus on what we want, the more likely we are to actually see it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like tuning your radio to a specific station. You're more likely to pick up the signal when you're dialed in.
Okay, I can see how that works. But
Yeah.
but we're not just talking about positive thinking, right?
Right.
We're talking about actively shaping our reality. Doesn't that require more than just like sitting around thinking happy thoughts? Where does action fit into this whole equation?
You're absolutely right. That's where the paradox comes in. Visualization is powerful, but it's just one piece of the puzzle. Remember that analogy from your notes about the gardener?
Oh yeah, the one who dreams of a beautiful garden but never actually plants any seeds or waters them?
Exactly. It's the same idea here. You can't just daydream your way to a new career or that shiny new car. You've got to take inspired action.
So it's like the universe loves a co-creator. It wants to see us put in some effort.
Yeah.
But how do we actually bridge that gap between intention and action, I mean?
There's this simple technique I call the daily double. Basically, you pair your daily affirmations, like I'm attracting my dream job, with one small concrete step towards that goal.
Ooh, I like that. It's like a 1-2 punch, right?
Yeah.
But what would that look like in real life? Give us an example.
Okay, so let's say you're aiming for a career in writing, right? Your daily double could be saying to yourself, I'm a talented writer, and then, spend 15 minutes maybe researching writing workshops or online courses.
Okay, see, that's manageable.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel overwhelming
Mm.
because sometimes it's like, well, whoa, where do I even start? But that's a great starting point.
Right. And the more you do it, the more momentum you build. It's like you're creating a bridge between your thoughts and your actions, your inner world and your outer reality.
Yeah, I love that. So we've got the visualization piece, the action piece. Anything else we need to add to this law of attraction
Oh,
toolbox?
absolutely. We can't forget about gratitude. You mentioned the idea of gratitude as an abundance amplifier. That's a really powerful way to describe it.
I get how gratitude can shift our mindset, make us feel more positive, but what's the actual science behind this? Is there like research showing how gratitude affects our brain?
Oh, yeah, definitely. There's this one study where people who practiced gratitude every day, they actually showed increased activity in their hypothalamus, that part of the brain that controls things like stress, sleep, and metabolism. They were literally rewiring their brains to feel more joy and contentment.
So it's not just about like feeling good in the moment. It's actually changing our brain structure.
Exactly. In another study, this one showed that people who regularly practice gratitude are more likely to achieve their goals, they're more optimistic, they stick with things longer, and they really believe in their ability to succeed.
Okay, I see the connection now. It's like gratitude shifts us from like a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset. And that spills over into everything we do.
You got it. And a simple way to cultivate that is through journaling. Every day, just jot down 3 things you're grateful for and one intention for the day.
That's a great tip. It's like we're priming our brains to be on the lookout for the good stuff.
Precisely.
So we've talked about our thoughts, our actions, and our attitude, with gratitude. But what about our environment? I know that can play a role too, right?
Absolutely. Our environment can either support us or hold us back, for sure. Remember that book about successful entrepreneurs?
Yeah. I remember there was a lot about the importance of their networks, right? Like who they surrounded themselves with.
Exactly. A common thread was that they built relationships with mentors, collaborators, people who challenged them, inspired them, pushed them to grow.
It's like that saying, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
So true. Our environment acts like a mirror, reflecting back the energy we put out. And the people around us, they can have a huge impact on our mindset, on what we believe is possible.
This is all so insightful. But let's get real for a minute. What about when things don't go our way? Does that mean we're doing something wrong? Like we're not manifesting hard enough or something?
That's where we have to be careful about falling into the trap of what's called toxic positivity. That idea that we should always be happy and positive no matter what. Because sometimes blaming ourselves for setbacks ignores all the external factors at play, things we can't control.
So it's more about like being aware of the energy we're putting out there, aligning ourselves with our desires, but also accepting that we're not in total control of the outcome.
Exactly. The law of attraction is a tool for understanding, for growth, not a weapon for self-judgment.
Okay, so it's like we're co-creating with the universe, but we're also recognizing that we're part of a bigger system, right? There's a lot going on that we don't necessarily see or understand.
Right. It's about finding that sweet spot between taking responsibility and surrendering to what is.
I was thinking about this earlier. These ideas, they're not really new, are they? It's like ancient wisdom repackaged for today's world.
You're absolutely right. The law of attraction has echoes of Stoicism, Buddhism, all these ancient philosophies that emphasized focusing on what you can control, letting go of attachment to outcomes.
And what's cool is that we can use modern technology to help us, right?
Oh, for sure. Habit tracking apps, for example, they can help us stay consistent with our practices, make it more fun and engaging.
Yeah, there's something about gamifying things that makes it, I don't know, less daunting.
Right. And it can really help to track your progress, see how far you've come.
Okay, so before we wrap up, I'd love for us to take a minute and think about how these principles are showing up in our own lives.
Mm-hmm.
Is there an area where you've really experienced the power of gratitude or seen how your environment has shaped you?
For me, when I'm actively practicing gratitude, I'm so much more aware of all the good things in my life, even the little things. It really shifts my perspective.
I can relate to that. I've noticed that too. And for our listener who's, trying to apply the law of attraction to their own life to make a change, what's the one thing you'd want them to remember?
I'd say the real magic isn't just achieving the goal, but who you become along the way. Remember that story about Sarah? She was visualizing that new car. Well, she got it eventually, but only after she started taking action. She joined a carpool, started appreciating her old car. It was about the journey, not just the destination.
And it's about recognizing that, small, consistent actions can lead to big changes. So, for you listening, what small step can you take today to align with your desires? What seed can you plant that will grow into something amazing?
It's out there waiting for you.
Exactly. Until next time.